I have to say, though belatedly again, a Happy New Year to you, Gabino.
Happy New Year to Shaka.
It's been a very, very long time.
Same here.
So talk to me about the upcoming presidential runoff in your country. How optimistic are you that this is going to be an election that is going at the end of the day, or whose results at the end of the day are going to reflect the will of the people?
Well, Shaka, let's first say that how proud I am of the Central African people. Not only for our community here, our diaspora worldwide, but also how the Central African Republic responded massively to pretty much express their voice despite all the circumstances that we know were not gathered for a very, I want to say, viable elections, but yet they responded very well. So, I mean, you and I, we covered just about every stage of the conflict. So, at every stage, I'm sure if we go back to the historical, you see how we have been right all along.
You think that this election, at the end of the day, may be able to put to rest the ghosts of Jean Bedero Bokassa, the one time, of course, emperor of the Central African Empire, at least according to him?
Well, believe it or not, there's a lot now that Central Africans are kind of nostalgic of that time because there were peace. We had a very, how you call it, a very strong army and piece of a very solid society in place. I don't think that it will just put everything back to normal, but what I think is that whoever is elected after this runoff, all Central African, we need to put our differences aside, get behind them, help get this country in a better place.
What about you, Yves?
Well, thanks for having me over here today. I think I am more than proud of the Central Africans. The reason being is because we went from trial and turbulences, and then all of a sudden we stopped to hear the voice of the Central Africans speak, meaning that they have to go choose what they want to be their leaders. Now, there's no perfect election. That's what we'll say. I don't think the election is going to solve any problems. But the core issue that we have in Central Africa is the social stability. And if we don't work on the social stability there, is never going to fix any issues. Economic efforts or humanitarian efforts is just going to be like trying to treat the symptoms rather than treating the disease itself.
What about the two armed groups? I'm talking about the Sereka and the anti-Balaka. Are they on board? Are they supportive of the democratic process? No.
Yes. They are on board to support the candidate. Whatever candidate that they choose and they believe that's going to win the election, that they're going to stand behind them. I'm not going to speak on behalf of either of groups. I can't say it for a fact, but so far they're showing some wisdom by staying quiet. There was no gunshot during the election, something that we need to be proud of, something that we need to encourage. I think there's a possibility that things can change, which only can hope for it. Right.
But you also, of course, have perhaps one of the largest UN peacekeeping contingents on the ground, correct?
Absolutely.
And the French.
Correct. Now, in the military or any of the forces that we have on the ground, everybody has the rules of engagement. I don't know quite what the rules of engagement were for Central Africa. I'm pretty sure that if there was a severe, we could have helped seize the bloodshed that was happening in CAR. Now, let's put that back on the table. Also, I think it was the lack of knowledge from the leaders that they couldn't negotiate something better than what was actually given to us. They should have sat down around the table, partake in the meeting at the UN, knowing exactly what was on the ground, because nobody knows your country better than you. So if they have a solution for the country, they should bring it forth. But they didn't do it. They allow somebody else to make a decision for them, but yet they're still trying to complain and talking about things that are not being done.
Very interesting, Gabino, former president, or deposed president, of course, Francois Bozize, was trying to make a comeback And unfortunately, he was not able to be cleared by the Constitutional Court. What happened? They said that he was not a registered voter. This is a man who has actually been president of his own country.
Well, let's just be honest about something. I think that at some point you have to be accountable for your action. Accountability was missing for the Central African leadership for a long period of time now. You know, when it's just like when you run a business, whatever is done within your business, ultimately you are responsible. You need to be accountable for your action and what was done. So for him to have, you know, run the country and then ended in such a chaotic fashion, and then now wanted to pause a little bit and at least ponder on it, but just wanted to come back, it was just kind of interesting. But thank God again that whether it be the judicial system or the small entity that we have in place, they stood their ground.
They eliminated him, frankly, on what you would call a very undemocratic technicality.
Indeed. But it was I think it was a necessary steps right now to just keep all the main actors of the chaotic period out of the political scene, at least for now.
Your country, of course, like mine, Uganda, both have the distinction of having had one president overthrown by his own army 2 times. I'm talking about Dako in your particular case, and in my particular case, Dr. Apollo Milton Obote.
Right. But again, those are the different periods in time, Shaka. You know, right now there's a change. It's a fast, rapidly happening change, both in geopolitics, but also politics in Africa. That unfortunately, there's a generation of politicians and leaders, they're not catching up to it. Which means right now, I mean, you know, Felix Houphouët-Boigny one time said that it would take time for Africa to build up on people who are capable of actually come and bring about real change, you know, transformative change. Right now, this is happening almost everywhere in Africa. You see it in Nigeria, you see it in Rwanda. Look at what the job that President Kagame was able to do. Now, even from the geopolitical standpoint, they're looking for leaders that can come to the table with something more than just say, hey, give me money, we're going to rely on the international community to run our country. Instead, they're looking for people to say, hey, let's sit down around the table. Let's negotiate a public-private partnership. Here's the plan that I have for employment of youth to sustain my society. It's more of a concise, you know, demand of partnership now. And unfortunately for the Central African Republic cloud, they have not really understood until, you know, recently maybe.
I see.